I cannot tell you how many times I've heard this phrase. I don't really want my podcast to have a niche. I just want to talk about a lot of things. And believe me, I understand the draw. You're multi-passionate, you worry you'll get bored easily or run out of things to say. When you're launching your podcast, these are very real concerns. Which is why I'm so glad you're taking the time to listen to this episode. Because choosing the right niche for your podcast could actually be the deciding factor for your podcast's success. More so than any other medium, podcasts need a niche. Here is why. Podcast listeners do not interact with podcasts the way those same people interact with other mediums like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. What sets podcasting apart is that it's audio only, meaning that listeners listen while multitasking, which allows them to tune in a lot longer than they would a YouTube video, for example. I'd say the only comparable medium would be TV shows and movies. However, a podcast is still different because it allows you to drive at the same time, cook at the same time, clean, work, walk, go for a run. When you're watching a TV show or movie, you can't multitask, can you? Okay, I'll call out the elephant in the room, which is the cultural phenomenon that we all fall for, which is being on your phone and watching, quote unquote, TV at the same time. And when I'm talking about podcasting, I am talking about audio podcasts, not video podcasts, because at this point, when I've recorded this episode in 2023, 80% of people still listen to audio podcasts over video podcasts. So unlike YouTube, where the average watching time is 2.5 minutes, or Instagram, where the average watching time is around 17 seconds, podcasting's average listening time is 27 minutes. So what this means is your podcast listener is spending a lot more time with you. And all of that leads me to say is your podcast content better be well worth it. It better be content that the listener is excited to hear about. It better be relatable and intriguing to them on a personal level. And you are absolutely capable at doing that, which is where a strong niche comes in. If you can niche your podcast down to something unique, you'll become the go-to for every single person that can relate to it. They'll bypass all the other podcasts out there and go directly to you. With a strong niche, you just went from forgettable to memorable. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Jamie Kennedy, executive podcast producer at Brave Moon Podcasts. We've produced podcasts for Virgin Active Health Clubs, Functional Training Institute, amazing well-being coaches and speakers, and many more. I started this podcast to show you that creating your own podcast is entirely achievable. With just my Rode Podcaster mic and my dog Riggs at my feet, I bring you the best tools and techniques I've meticulously researched and tested, ensuring no guesswork on your part. My goal is to set you up for podcasting success, whether you're a creator, a small business owner, or a wellness entrepreneur. For a comprehensive list of the equipment and software that my clients use, head to my website and grab the free Start a Podcast guide. I've condensed months of research into this guide, offering you the industry's best choices. Download it today, and the link is in the show notes. Now, let's jump into it. How to choose the right niche for your podcast. My mission is to help you show up, be brave, and speak for what matters most to you. And choosing the right niche for your podcast is the first step in making that mission a reality. If you've listened to me for a bit now, you probably know that I harp on how unsaturated the podcasting market is. That said, just for your awareness, there are between 3 and 4 million podcasts out there as of 2023 when I recorded this podcast. Now, that's not a huge number by any means, certainly not compared to the number of YouTube channels or Instagram creators, but you're still competing against 3 to 4 million podcasts. And so anything you do to stand out from the beginning is going to be stellar. And a niche helps you do just that. Setting the right niche is like setting the compass for your podcast journey. It determines the direction your show will take, the audience it will attract, and the impact it can make. So how do you choose the one that's perfect for you? Well, think about it as a specific area or subject matter your podcast focuses on that appeals to a small, specialized section of the population. You need a niche because it helps you find the right listeners and the right listeners find you. Let me just quickly squash a thought you may be having right now, which is, I don't want to limit myself to a niche. I understand that and I validate your concern. However, what's amazing about a niche is that it does the exact opposite of limiting you. By becoming an expert in a specific area, you gain greater credibility, authority, and influence. By attracting a more targeted audience, you'll increase engagement, loyalty, and a sense of strong community. A niche will give you focus and a direction, allowing you to dig deeper into a particular topic and develop a unique perspective. As a result, you can create content that is more valuable, relatable, and insightful. Not to mention that by becoming known as an expert in a particular niche, you can attract attention from media outlets, influencers, and potential collaborators. Your niche is composed of two things: your target audience, aka dream listener, and the struggle you're helping them with. Here's the formula I always use when helping a new podcast client come up with a niche. The first element of the formula is your target audience, aka your dream listener. Now, this obviously depends on your industry, the size of your company, the product or service you sell, etc. But in general, I'd say for a health and fitness professional selling a service or product, you're looking for a target audience with two layers of traits or characteristics. For example, women who bodybuild or men over 40. You should always choose your dream listener based on research, ensuring that the size of your population is big enough to support the podcast community you want to build. So, for example, I'm not going to make my target audience women named Katie, because that population is way too small for the podcast community that I would want to build. But it wouldn't be far-fetched for me to say for women over 40. The second part of your niche is honing in on your dream listener's main pain point or daily struggle, something that they want to overcome, and your podcast can help them get there. We, as humans, are known to face quite a few struggles in this life. And your goal is to find a way to help your dream listener with at least one of them through your podcast, which is why figuring out who your dream listener is so important. You have to understand your dream listener's interests, pain points, daily struggles, and what they hope to overcome in order for your podcast to meet them where they're at and become the solution that they need. Remember, even the most lighthearted of podcasts are solving a problem for a person, either by simply entertaining them on their journey, letting them feel more connected, giving them insight into a topic that fascinates them, or by actually educating them on how to solve a pain point in their life. Every podcast should be able to have a niche. Now that you've learned about the two elements that make up a niche, your target audience and their biggest pain point or struggle that they want to overcome, let's dive into what your niche should be. First and foremost, your podcast niche should be something you're passionate about. Consider your interests, hobbies, and expertise. What topics make you excited, curious, or even a little obsessed? These are often the best places to start. Here's a fun fact. You do not need to choose a niche that you are educated in. If you are very passionate about a subject and have a lot to learn about it, you can absolutely choose an interview-style podcast and help yourself and others learn about a niche at the exact same time. This works on so many levels because you will ask the right questions that your listeners are curious about as well, versus an expert of a topic interviewing an expert of the same topic. It can sometimes get quite convoluted for a novice podcast listener. So let's come up with some examples. Let's say you're a personal trainer who loves helping people get in shape. Do you already have a dream listener in mind? If not, consider who you love to train the most. So your niche could become, for example, get back to fit safely for postnatal women, or help build muscle for busy working professionals in America. Or let's say you're a nutritionist and you love helping people eat well. Who do you love to help the most? So your niche could be, for example, mastering healthy eating habits for men after 40. Or how about healthy eating habits for busy moms? Once you've come up with a few ideas for your niche, you should take a look at statistics and trends happening in that area. I highly recommend checking out Google Bard, which is ChatGPT, but using current data, or Google Trends website, and ask Google for top volume searches within your niche. After all, you want to make sure that you've chosen a niche that people are searching for. This can help you stumble on gaps that your podcast could fill. For example, seeing a trending topic like college dorm meal recipes? Why not consider targeting college freshmen and helping them with nutritious meal plans they can make from their dorm room? To find gaps, jump on the top podcast listening apps like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and search for your niche's topic. What pops up? What's not there already? This is where you'll find your unique perspective and present your podcast in a way that will become very memorable to your dream listener. Believe me, I know how intimidating market research can feel, but using Google Bard and Google Trends should help simplify the process for you. And ultimately, validating your niche and finding those gaps in the current podcast space could very well define the difference between having a successful podcast and a not so successful one. If you're ready to take your brainstorming here a bit deeper and actually take these new lessons to the drawing board to come up with your own niche, I do have a free brainstorming exercise that I think will prove useful to you. It also helps you with ideas for your podcast name. You can find the link for that in my show notes. Once you've solidified your niche, you're ready to create episode topics and content that resonate with your dream listener. Something important to consider is that you never actually have to say your niche out loud to your listeners, unless you want to, of course. Instead, you can use your niche as a tool to clarify how you speak to your dream listener. For example, let's say your podcast niche is healthy eating habits for busy moms. So in your main podcast description, you probably won't say those exact words. Instead, you would say something like, tired of eating your toddler's leftover mac and cheese for dinner every night? This is a great hook that's extremely relatable and speaks directly to a busy mom, because they've probably experienced that exact scenario. That doesn't mean you can't say the niche in your podcast description, especially if it's something you think your dream listener will love to hear. For example, you could always continue the episode description in this example to say, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I help busy moms develop healthier eating habits. I pretty much just stated my niche, but in slightly different words. Now, here's 5 hacks to choosing the right niche for your podcast. Hack number 1, your niche can and should evolve. As your audience grows, so will the different personalities and traits tuning in. That's a nice progression to experience. So, as you gain a deeper understanding of your audience through paying attention to your podcast analytics, you can adapt your content to meet their needs and interests. This will allow you to continue to provide value and stay relevant while also keeping your content fresh and engaging. So don't be afraid to experiment and explore new ideas. The more you learn about your audience, the better equipped you will be to create content that resonates with them. Hack number 2, harness the power of your past experiences. What have you been through in life that has shaped who you are today? What unique perspectives or insights can you share as a result of your experiences? By drawing on your own personal journey, you can identify niches that are both meaningful to you and likely to resonate with others. You can be your own dream listener. If you struggled with weight in your 20s, why not make your dream listener in their 20s who want to overcome weight issues the way you did? People love nothing more than learning from someone who's already been through the exact experience they're going through. Hack number 3, I always say you should start an email list for your podcast. And the best way to do that is with a lead magnet that gives people a reason to give you their email address. So a lead magnet meaning that you are giving them a free resource in exchange for signing up with their email address. This hack is all about creating that lead magnet resource that meets your niche's exact need. For example, for healthy meal plans for busy moms, you could create a lead magnet recipe guide called 20 Healthy Meals Under 10 Minutes. This lead magnet will attract your target audience who can turn into your podcast listeners. Win-win. Hack number 4. Unsure what your niche is? Reach out to your current audience on social media, in person, or email. This audience could be your clients or followers and ask them to vote on their top pain point or struggle they face. You'll see a pattern emerge, which will help you decide on your niche. Hack number 5, think outside the box. Don't be afraid to come up with unique and unconventional niche ideas. The most successful podcasts are often the ones that are different from anything else out there. Or deep dive into something interesting and specific, like the love of a show like Gilmore Girls, or a specific diet like keto diet or something. Don't be afraid to be creative and think outside the box. So there you have it. Thank you again so much for joining me on your podcasting journey. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review. Until the next episode, keep those conversations flowing and keep being the amazing powerhouse that you are. And as always, remember that consistency, authenticity, and promoting your podcast are key to your success. Happy podcasting!